talents, the gifts, the beautiful things that God has placed in you, then that could be an unfair assessment of who you are. Now, the other part of that coin is this. Every now and then there will be some things that a good mentor needs to bring out to you and show you. You're lazy, you're a little slow. A good mentor is not scared to tell you the truth about who you are. And that's why parents sometimes make great mentors, because they're going to tell you the truth about who you are. They're going to tell you, no, you're going to have to pick up the pace, or you're going to have to do this a little better. You're going to have to make this a little more neat. And so Paul then, as he is spending time with Timothy, he makes an assessment. And sometimes we make assessments of people, but the next thing you got to do is learn to make an investment. Somebody say, don't assess me without investing in me. We make assessments without investments. That oftentimes will leave people broken. That oftentimes leaves people frustrated. In essence, we tell them what we feel about them, and we tell them what we think about them, but we don't make any investment in them. Paul was careful. He not only assessed Timothy, but then he turned around and invested in him. Somebody say, invest in me. If you are careful enough to tell me about how short my skirt is, then pull out your credit card and take me to the mall and buy me one that's a little longer. If you are so careful to tell me about what you don't like about me, then let's make an investment and do something about what you don't like about me. So a lot of times we find ourselves making assessments of people, and sometimes people make assessments of us without being willing to make an investment in our lives. In essence, there's something about me that you would like to see different, or that you want to see change, but you're not willing to take the time to do anything about what you see. Don't talk about what you're not willing to do something about. And a lot of times what we find ourselves doing is we will be critiquing other people, or we become critical of situations and things that we see, but we ourselves will not be willing to take the time and make the investment in improving that thing that we just critiqued. If you don't want to improve it, then don't critique it. If you don't want to invest in it, then don't assess it. And so Paul took the time to make the investment in Timothy, because he was getting ready to bring Timothy alongside him as a fellow laborer, as a co-laborer. And so as he makes this assessment, then he turns around and starts directing him. He starts telling him basically what he needs to do. In 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 14, Paul began to say, he says, listen, I'm appointed a preacher and an apostle. I'm a teacher of the Gentiles, for the which cause I suffer several things. In essence, because of who I'm called to be, I got to go through something. And so because of who you are called to be, you're going to go through something. You're trying to figure out who it is that you are. Well, you got to know it's somebody great, because the stuff you're going through is about to make you lose your mind. You got to know it's somebody powerful, because what you're dealing with is challenging to your faith. It seems to be a challenge even to your future. So you got to know that God has made a great investment in you. Paul goes on to tell Timothy, he says, listen, I know whom I believe. I'm persuaded that he is able to keep that which I've committed unto him against that day. But then he says to Timothy, he says, hold fast to form the form of sound words, that which you have heard of me. He said that faith, that love that I've taught you about in Jesus Christ, he says, hold on to that. In essence, he starts making an investment in Timothy's life. He basically says, I'm going to give you some tools that are going to help you make it through the challenges in life. And that's what you want. You want the people in your life to be able to make investments in you, to give you tools that are going to help you to face the challenges that you're dealing with. You do that so that you can become the person who then makes the deposit. He allows you to be poured into, but you got to raise up at some point, get the wisdom, and turn around and make the investment in somebody else. So Paul goes on to tell Timothy, he says, listen, you're going to have to learn to become a soldier. You're going to have to learn to endure hardness as a soldier. See, sometimes you need people in your life who will take that box of tissue and say, wipe your nose and dry your eyes. Even if you got to wipe it on your sleeve, shut up that crying, because we don't have time for that. Every now and then you need somebody in your life who can speak truth to you and tell you, even though what you're dealing with is hard, we don't have time for you to relish in the emotions of that moment. You got to shake yourself and get yourself together.